13 years ago, on a short bus in a small town in Washington, two idiots met. A bunch of stupid stuff happened, and want you to listen to those stupid stories.
Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Brock Serrano. I am your host for Living with Humor, and I got my really good friend Brent Tomzak on this side. And why don't you introduce yourself, Brent?
Hey guys, I am Brent Tomzak. I have done several podcasts with a bunch of buddies throughout the last couple of years, and I have been friends with Brock for, I want to say, 13 years now, dating us just a little bit. But we've been through thick and thin, hell and high water, and we have done just about everything under the sun you can name together. And, well, these are our stories. I've watched everything involving Brock for the last couple of years with great interest, and I could not be prouder to be co-hosting a show with the man who really needs to discuss why people need to listen to him.
Yeah, so I am a stand-up comedian, and as Brent mentioned, we've known each other for years, and we actually have always planned on doing some kind of project together. Podcasts weren't a thing when we were younger, were they?
They were there, so. But I think it hadn't been pioneered to the point where it was.
Yeah. So yeah, we've always talked about doing stuff together as we got older, and I'm glad we finally get to do that. It's been a long time coming, and yeah, we met at this private Christian school called Life Christian out in Tacoma, and fun fact, we both rode the short bus, not because we had to, but our school was so cheap, that's all they had.
That's all we could afford. Private school, the short bus.
All the money went to the church. So, I wish I was kidding. But yeah, so where do you want to start us off, Brent? So how did we actually start talking on the bus? Now that I think about it. Didn't I make fun of you?
Truth be told, yes, you did. But also, just to put some context in things, Brock was a junior in high school when I was a freshman.
Yeah.
I was that weird kid that came in. His yearbook photo always looked serial killer-ish. I was the person you were nice to because you never knew where things were going to lie. I had really dark taste in music. I only played video games. I didn't socialize with a lot of people. I was a recluse as much as a recluse could possibly be. And then I started talking to Ray, our other brother, who's not on the podcast currently. But I started talking to him in science class because we had one of the worst science teachers in the history of ever, because she was always...
she was high.
I swear she was high, but I can't say for a fact she was high because that could be slander in some type. But she was just always out there. She was surfer dude, surfer bro. She was a super short chick, never paid attention to nothing. Ray sat next to me by accident, and he just wanted to, he didn't want to do the whole, he's like, hey, will you knock this out for me? I don't really want to do this. And it was one of the few things in science I actually understood. So I felt comfortable. Yeah, I'll help you. I don't care. Why not?
Wait, you did Ray's homework?
Just for that little brief section there. And he's like, hey, you're pretty cool.
I never knew that.
And then next thing you know, he started talking about the things he was passionate about. And he started talking about wrestling, and he started talking about video games. I knew nothing of wrestling, nor did I care to at that point in time. Mm-hmm. And then, but I gamed. So you said the word Halo, I was interested. And then he invited me over, and we started hanging out. And next thing you know, he introduced me to you. And we'd ridden the short bus all year together, but I played football, so I missed probably, I want to say, quarter of the year on that bus. And next thing you know, you and the giant on our bus, because we had a over 7-footer on that short bus too, just to provide context for everything. You two took turns roasting me for the entire 45-minute bus ride from Tacoma with all the stops all the way to Gig Harbor. And then one day you just needed a ride home, and I was nice enough to be like, hey, Mom, can you take this kid home? I guess he lives in the same neighborhood as me. And, well, here we are 13 years later. So bullying does pay off sometimes.
Bullying is a good thing. Oh, man. God.
How would you tell that story?
No, you're spot on. And then we ended up hanging out at the pool in our neighborhood. And is that when we started playing cards or no? That's when we were.
Yeah, we started playing some cards there. We started hanging out. Next thing you know, we were basically inseparable over a summer of just stupid shenanigans, hijinks, and a majority of our stories came from our summer hijinks that we'll be sharing with you guys on the podcast. It's just some of them we'll get into today, others we'll get into in the episodes coming on because they fit better with a certain line of guests that we're trying to book. But at the same token, we just did a whole bunch of stupid stuff, had tons of fun, and well, it was a long road. But I think the one story that needs to be mentioned when we discuss our origin story is the man who gave us the speech.
The man who is right behind us.
In the
Forgetting we're doing a podcast. Oh man, of course he comes in when we're going to tell this story. But why don't you get us started? So when we first started hanging out, my father gave Brent and I a very, very great speech and life lessons. Why don't you get that started, Brent?
Well, just to provide any context or anything that was going on, I was a freshman going into my sophomore year. We've been hanging out for about 2-3 months now. I finally got the invite to go over to his house because he was felt comfortable enough to me to meet his family and still be able to keep coming back.
I wasn't worried about you. I was worried about my family.
And who I was at that time, I was basically a really, really good kid. I stayed completely out of trouble. No drugs, no drinking. I just barely started drinking with you guys.
Oh my God, I ruined you.
I was quiet. I was reserved. I stayed out of trouble entirely. And even with girls, it was the most I had gotten probably by that point in time was there were photos exchanged. That was it. I hadn't gone anywhere, done anything. I was still new to this whole concept of trying to be with somebody. And well, then your dad dropped on us the Vice story. And I don't remember the exact details of it, which is what I'm going to need you to fill in.
Oh, I remember.
What it was. I remember the expression on my face after, so I'll let you take the story away from here.
So Brent at the time was 14. And my dad comes out. He was working in the yard or something. And I think we were going to walk to the club or something. Doesn't matter. And out of nowhere, it goes, all right, Brent, I got to impart my wisdom upon you. See, as you get older, there's 3 traps that men fall into that keep them from being successful. Drugs, pussy, and gambling. Make sure you stay away from those. And Brent and I grew up to fall into all 3 at one point. Alcohol counts as drugs, according to that speech.
We tried that one. We tried that one and option 2 several times just to be sure.
Yeah.
Make sure it wasn't us.
Well, we had to make sure we learned from experience.
And one of the mottos of we've learned over life is fail forward. And we fell forward through many vices of option 1 and 2. I never really got into gambling.
I didn't either, actually. That's the funny thing. It's Ray would try to get us into gambling, but he would always win, so we were never interested.
I would love to say I won once or twice, but I don't think that honestly happened enough to where it was prevalent enough for us to keep on gambling with him. But option 1, I don't think we spent many a sober weekend for a long, long time. And then on top of that, you have the fact that we were just failing forward, talking to as many people as we possibly could. I went from this quiet introvert to now someone who's podcasting. Let's talk to people about all of our problems. So clearly, you were a positive influence.
Same here. I wasn't really the most social kid for a while either. I had my close friend group, and now I'm going on stage talking to hundreds of people a week.
Yeah, it's funny how things have all changed for us, but more often than not, we would spend our time playing cards. We'd hang out by the pool. And I remember one of our favorite things to do hanging out for sure was watching stand-up comics. I know it was definitely your passion. Let's have you break down a little bit some of the comics that you watch and part of the reason why this is a thing. You have great that.
Yeah. So I always grew up watching stand-up. Even as a little kid, my mom would have stand-up playing on the TV. And I was always just fascinated and always thought it was a great thing. So as I grew older, I found my own comedians that I grew to love watching. And then when Brent and I started hanging out, actually before Brent and I started hanging out, when I was like a freshman or sophomore when I had that back surgery, because it was before I met you.
It was sophomore year.
Sophomore year, yeah. And I had major back surgery, and that whole summer couldn't do anything, couldn't hang out with friends. I was bedridden, and it bummed the shit out of me. But all I did was just binge stand up, just special after special. And then at that point in time, Christopher Titus, who was nice enough to let me work with him back in January, released a special 5th annual End of the World tour. And for that 90 minutes that was on, I didn't once think about my situation, was not bummed out. And that's when it clicked when I realized, stand-up was something I loved and wanted to do. And I've always wanted, even growing up, I'm sure you can vouch for this too, Brent, because we went through dark shit as kids. But I always made it a point to find the funny in anything somebody was going through, to try to help them out, just like Titus helped me out. And years later, I became a stand-up comedian because this guy told me to grow a pair and go on stage after making every excuse in the book. So always be thankful for that, Brent. Oh yeah, a lot.
Well, the long story short, for people who haven't heard that part of things, is we went through a lot of the darkest times of our lives together, regardless of the fact we knew it or not. The year before we met, I had a close friend of mine off herself, for better or worse. Yeah, that's the only word I can use for it. Yeah, you had your back surgery that left you bedridden,
and died and came back.
And then a year later, while we were both going through some dark stuff, and even though we didn't exactly meet the ideal way, because most people be like, yeah, you guys kind of you bullied each other. It's like, yeah, we did. Iron sharpens iron, for those that aren't aware. It's like we wanted to see if we could break the other person, and we never could. Yeah. And we figured out that we used humor as a defense and a natural deflecting mechanism, and it helped us cope with a lot of messed up situations. And we went through a lot of messed up situations, so we got a lot of humor out of everything that happened. Because these are situations that most people be like, why are you joking about this? Why are you talking about things like this?
Because I have to.
It's you guys are meaner to each other than anyone else could ever possibly be. It's we do it out of love. It's a brother doesn't let a brother just go through something alone. It's we try and find humor and stuff. And it's look, if you can't make light of your own situation, how are you supposed to make light of everything else in the world that's going on around you today?
Yeah, exactly.
And when he says he made every excuse in the book not to be on stage, I mean, it was everything from I'm not ready, I don't have material, I gotta go poop. There were several options that were on the table. We went to the Tacoma Comedy Club several times, just seeing the open mic nights, and time came and went. I was moving away for personal reasons, and I was look, this is the last time I'm going to be able to go to this. Grow a pair and get up there. And you said yes. And I was you got the stage time. You had a couple friends in the audience video it. Yep. So that audio and video does exist for those that are curious to see what his beginning was like. But I was there for it, so I could say I was part of the journey. I missed every show since, but I've watched the snippets that you've been able to share on
Yeah,
your social
yeah.
media and stuff, and then see where things have evolved. And
Yeah.
you've gotten even more funny, but also the people that don't know you, he's even funnier in person. It's not just like he went up there to be on
Right.
stage. It's like a lot of people thought that me, Brock, and Ray were going to be all three of us would be comedians at some point because we just made light of
one of our
everything.
teachers often said that. I don't know if we're allowed to drop names, but
which subject did they teach something so you can remember what teacher that was?
English.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I love that English teacher.
Yeah,
absolutely
I did too.
Phenomenal teacher. I'd love to have that person on at some point.
Oh, me too. I think that would be awesome to have her because, like, I mean, she's the one who really made an impact on my creative writing too. So I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing without her.
Mm-hmm. And she was actually one of those teachers that you could actually tell gave actual shit about the kids.
Yeah.
And it's always rare to see that nowadays because a lot of our friends who grew up have become teachers. Like, I can't imagine that you're one of those people that genuinely loves and cares about the kids. The way some of the teachers that really impacted our lives. Like, we have stories about the bad teachers as well. Don't get us wrong.
Oh, of course.
But the good teachers, you can literally name on your hand to this day who they were, how they impacted you, and even some of the lessons that they taught you, even about subjects you weren't interested in, you still cared about because of who was teaching the class. It kind of made everything better. And I love how I made fun of you for talking with your hands when I was younger, but now I'm the one who
I know well, actually, you know what? You can't see my hands unless I'm like doing it up here, but so that's why.
Yeah. So, long story short, the name of the podcast that came about because of this guy and watching Christopher Titus's special. Living with humor is something that we both have done. We've both used. It is our natural coping mechanism for when life tries kicking you down. You just laugh it off. You get back up and you keep on going. And we're not going to try and like pick on anyone or bully anyone or try and bring people down. But at the same time, we're going to use our own personal stories and be like, yep, this is some of the stupid stuff I did. I thought this was a good idea. And here's where it went completely off the rails. So you guys can have a laugh because, I mean, God, everything else in the world is going.
We fucking need it with all this shit. God, it's been a rough few years for everybody.
Oh, yeah. I don't even know where to go with that because, I mean, without getting political, without getting picking a side, like, it's just say everything around everything.
Yeah, like you don't even have to. You don't have to take a stance to realize it's just been shit show after shit show.
And here we are getting the best laughs of our life through some of the darkest moments of what probably should be dramatically impacting us.
Yeah.
And while we're talking about like dramatic impacts, do we want to go take a break and send it out to Uncle Tony for some life advice that we have?
Yes, we got this next guest. He's going to be handling all our commercial breaks. I'm very excited for you guys to meet him. His name is Uncle Tony. He loves giving advice on life. If you want a shout out or you want to give your friend a shout out, give your mom a shout out. He'll do it, and he'll be happy to do it. So hope you guys enjoy our next guest. While we take a break. Hey, what's up, guys? This is your Uncle Tony, here to impart my wisdom amongst you fine people. Let's see who today's special person is.
Okay, now that I understand the assignment, Brock, I have kind of a dilemma in my life. I have a few of my very close female friends who, when we all get drunk together, I have kind of a dilemma in my life. I have a few of my very close female friends who, when we all get drunk together, are in all seriousness in front of their partners being like, hey, Drew, we should fuck sometime. And like, I don't want to fuck them. I'm not interested. But I also don't want to break their heart. Like, what do I say to save myself from the awkwardness and also not be like, oh yeah, we should totally fuck. I don't want to say that. How do I get out of this?
Drew, great question. First off, I know Brock is the host of this podcast, but he doesn't know shit. So always ask your Uncle Tony if you have a question. Number 2, again, great question, but you're too worried about being nice. Kindness is weakness, all right? What you got to fucking do is you got to fuck their partner. Assert your dominance. Stay on top. All right, that was a great question. Can't wait for the next one. Make sure you submit your questions to livingwithhumorbooking@gmail.com. Check us out on all our social media, and let's see what the boys have to say now. All right, thank you, Uncle Tony. Hope you guys enjoyed him. He's a pleasure to work with. So, yeah, before we wrap up the show, we got a little bit of time left. We got a few things we want to talk about. Brent, why don't you talk about the first time we actually hung out outside of school?
The great and infamous story. I'll never be able to live this down, unfortunately.
No, you won't.
We decided we'd do a little trip, and we had nothing else going on, so we decided we would walk from where we currently resided to Target and to Albertsons. And I had a little bit of money at the time. I don't remember how I had it. I think it was like allowance money or something. Went to Target, then didn't find anything I liked. Walked over to Albertsons. I found these pair of shades I really liked, and for whatever reason, decided to buy them. I think I lost them within like 2 or 3 months, but
something like that.
They had a little tag on the ear of the glasses. Just couldn't get that off. Brock, being the Italian that he is, proudly always had a knife on his person, always. So I was like, hey,
keep in mind, I'm 15 at the time, or 16, so I shouldn't even have been allowed to carry one.
So I was like, hey, can I borrow that knife real quick? I just want to cut this tag. I was like, oh yeah, sure. Him thinking I have handled knives before. I was proficient at this. I can handle myself. He looks away to look at his phone for maybe 2 to 5 seconds. I mean, it was like quick. And the next time he looks back over, my hand is covered in blood. And I was like, I fucked up. So I didn't even get the tag off. I just sliced my finger. I was bleeding everywhere. He had to go back inside. I was like, hey, my friend's bleeding. Can I borrow like a bunch of Band-Aids?
Yeah.
Waiting for everything to subside.
We went into 3 different places before we found somebody who would let us use a first aid kit.
Yeah, and then we walked somewhere between that Target and opposite. There was a gazebo at the top of the hill. Walked over to that. And then I was just bleeding all over it. And I was like, well, if blood counts as ownership, I own this thing. So
and the blood stain was there for years.
So long story short, I owned a gazebo in our little small town for quite a few years. Luckily, that wasn't a sharper knife or this day.
Yeah.
Long story short, people, I am not proficient with knives, even to this day and age. Like, I want to say, like, less than a month ago, there are knives that are specifically designed not to cut the human skin. It's meant to cut fruit. While cleaning one, I managed to, while scrubbing it, brush off and slice into my thumb with that knife. The knife that is designed not to go into human skin at all. Cut myself with it.
Well, so, Brent, no, go ahead. No, I'm just going to say, if it makes you feel better, I think about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, while I was at work, I used to work at a pawn shop, for those of you who are listening, and one of the items I was putting out for sale was a skinning knife. And it was one of those sheaths where it's kind of hard to get the knife out. And my manager's standing next to me. He's like, Brock, be sure not to cut yourself. I'm like, oh, don't worry. I'm a professional. Sliced open my finger right as I said I was a professional. So I can't make fun of you too much anymore.
So this is the first time I've heard that story, and now I'm hearing it on air. So now I'm going to lord this over you for the foreseeable future.
Well, I don't know why.
So much crap for that. Like, it's been 13 years, guys. He's never forgotten. He's never let it go. I've just been living with this information rent-free in my mind of the stupidity of the decision and process that I went about cutting off that ear that ended up cutting off my finger before. I think you ended up cutting off the tag for me because you're like, I'm taking this back. You just didn't trust me any further. I'm like, I honestly don't blame you. That's fine.
I was like, all right.
Do you want to relay some of like our movie watching experience? So when we say jokes on air, people will understand what we're saying, as opposed to they're sitting there like, why are they laughing
like,
at the word
fuck
bananas?
Are these guys talking about?
It's like the most greatest thing.
So a huge part of our friendship growing up, which maybe we'll do an episode where you read your senior sign off that has the list of all our inside jokes.
It is long.
Yeah, and that's all your senior sign off was just our inside jokes.
I didn't care about anything else that happened in high school other than you, me, and Ray. And
that was it.
I think there was a shout out to like my family for putting up with me. I think
that's it.
That was the only line. I was like, thanks for putting up with me. And then I think maybe I did like something to like the girl I was dating my senior year because I was an idiot.
That's right.
Forever, but carry on.
Yeah. But anyway, so a huge part when we were growing up, we watched movies all the time. Not just stand up, but we were big into The Godfather. We were big into Goodfellas. All those gangster movies we watched growing up. And we're probably going to do an episode just on that alone. But one of our favorite things to do, not only would we typecast each other as characters, we would find our favorite quotes and try to have full-blown conversations using movie quotes. Do you remember that?
And boy, were we way better at that than we should have been. Like, if that was like a professional skill, we would be retired. We would have been the cream of the crop at inside jokes to where we understood exactly what was going on. Like, if, say, we got arrested and people tried attempting to interrogate us, we could have a full-blown conversation about what happened with each other in a way that we both understood, and everyone else is looking at us. These guys are fucking crazy.
Not to mention, and I don't know how we did this, and we're going to sound insane to the audience, but when we watched Despicable Me, we basically taught ourselves how to speak Minion, and we knew exactly what we were saying to each other. Do you remember that?
We would literally use the most simplistic words, small gestures, and little things, and then once we finished with talking like Minions so people wouldn't understand us, because we are crazy to some extent for this. We would literally pick up the conversation and regular dialogue once we got the part we needed to talk about done, and we was always on the exact train of thought that it needed to be. Whether we're talking smack about someone, whether there was a hot girl nearby, whether there was someone we didn't want eavesdropping in on the conversation. As soon as they left, went back directly to normal. But during that time frame, we would use so many different euphemisms from that movie to get things done. And to this day, the word bananas just has to be said bananas.
Bananas.
We went and saw the Minions movie together.
And we were the only teenagers. I just realized how fucking weird we were when we were younger.
We're still weird. What?
I like to lie to myself and say I improved.
I don't know if I'm going downhill or I'm just more self-aware.
I'm going to go self-aware because that makes us seem a little better, right?
Yeah. Because, I mean, we watched those movies, Team America World Police. We talked about Boondock Saints.
Boondock Saints was huge. Yeah.
The Other Guys was another one that I absolutely... We were typecast to a T in that film.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, you were Gator, and I was Mark Wahlberg's character.
I was Will Ferrell's character.
Yep.
You were Mark Wahlberg's character. It's like, how'd you learn how to dance like that? I did this to make fun of people. Just growing up, like, I know I misquoted that line, but that word without proper context should not be used. So I was like, Gator's lines alone, when he just breaks character, is phenomenal. And I've started quoting that the millionaire in that film more often. It's like, I use his apartment mostly for prostitutes and my parents, but not at the same time, because that would be wrong. What?
Oh my God. Oh, and one thing we forgot to mention is the first time I came over to your house.
Oh. first time he came over to his house, and I'm honestly shocked that it took us this long to get into any kind of story pertaining to you and your height.
Yeah,
For those of you that aren't aware, you want to let the people know what your designation is and your preferred term is.
My preferred pronoun is midget.
And I have the pass, according to him, to say
He's got the M. He's got the M word pass.
It's the only pass that I'll be needing. But Brock is, in fact, to his verbatim and to his acknowledgement, a midget. When he came over for the first time to hang out at my house, my parents were not only like, they did this for a little bit. Even my mom, who was the most
your dad did
judgmental woman, my mom was just, all right.
Yep.
My dad was just, he literally stopped his business call. He stopped for his full speech and just,
I remember, he's looking over the corner.
He's like, is Brent hanging out with a child or is that like an actual teenager? And then my sister came out of her room because we're hanging out in the living room. She just
goes, oh. She
it was like you just got a new toy on Christmas.
Goddamn excited.
And next thing you know, it was just the thing. We just started hanging out and we never stopped hanging out. No. Anytime anyone asked what I was doing, it's like, so what's Brock up to? I don't even ask what I'm doing. Like, what's Brock up to? Like,
yeah, if people want to get a hold of me, they usually went to you.
Because you never answered your phone. To this day, you are terrible at answering phone calls.
I'm a little better.
Text messages, alarms especially.
Yeah, I know.
But the level of excitement that people get and how they reacted to you is something I thoroughly enjoyed. Do you remember?
Yeah.
How at Target, when little kids would stop and stare at you, I would stop what I was doing and stare at them back until they felt uncomfortable.
Yes,
like looking back as a teenager.
Dick move.
Looking at kids like that, dick move. But also, parents should have raised their kids to be better, to understand that when someone is of a certain way and a certain type, you leave them the hell alone. They got their own shit. They don't need your child. Mommy, what is that?
What is that? Oh my God. I don't mind little kids too much. Like they get a pass, they're a clean slate, whatever. But yeah, I remember that. And then we used to do the stupid John Cena shit.
The wrestling phase that'll have to have its own separate episode. I think too many drunken nights
playing or watching wrestling
we played wrestling, and then on top of that, and by play wrestling I mean we played the WWE 2K games. I need to be very specific. And then Halo drinking was another thing that there's a lot of stories about that in of itself to cover. This is like whew. But most of our inside jokes are literally from movies that we have seen to this day. Because anytime something goes wrong with either one of us and we're in person, you see us, that is our signal that something is really, really gone wrong and we need to both find a reason just to leave the situation. And that is from Team America World Police. Just so you know. And it's like, if you've seen that movie, you know how terrible the humor is in that film.
I think
however, it is hilarious. So I will continue to laugh at it to this day because the speech about dicks, pussies, and assholes.
We can make that a segment on the show.
Where you have to like put celebrities into certain categories of
that would be hilarious.
Well, we already know Amber Heard is a shit, so like don't have to cover that.
Yeah, right. Asshole.
So, got that completely covered. That's all squared up out of the way. Is there any other movies you think that we missed? Because like we watched Step Brothers a little bit. We didn't watch it that crazy.
We didn't get into Step Brothers too much. Talladega Nights we watched a lot.
If you ain't first, you're last.
Piss excellence.
I'm gonna come at you like a spider monkey.
Shut up, Chip. I'm gonna come at you like a spider monkey. No, Godfather. Every time we were on the phone with our crush growing up, one of us would yell, "I love you with all my heart, and if I don't see you again, I'm gonna die."
because you have to roast each other to some extent. And
Oh yeah.
that was one of the most obscure references in the entire Godfather, because everyone will, and when they reference Godfather especially, it's like,
yeah,
every time I think I get back out, they pull me back in. And
no, that's Carlito's way. That's Carlito's way.
Was that Carlito's way?
Yeah, that's Carlito's way.
I feel like it was also referencing Godfather Part 3, even though that is an abomination in of itself.
I hated that
movie. Should have never been made. It should have been burned down. I don't know who thought that was a good idea. But
yeah.
Because Godfather Part 2 is a masterpiece and maybe one of the best films ever made. Robert De Niro's greatest performance. But I'm not a movie critic, so let's not get too much into it.
Yeah, right. No, that was a great movie. We watched Goodfellas all the time. Family Guy. So like we would quote TV shows too.
Casino was another one that you were really, really
I loved. You didn't like it too much, but I love that movie. To this day, I love that movie.
I don't think there's a character that I resonated with where I was like, yep, I can understand what this person's like. And for those of you that don't understand, like resonating with certain characters, when we watched movies, TV shows, whatever, there were certain characters that acted in a way that was like, yeah, I can see myself in this person. And it's like, to this day, if I can't find someone I resonate with in a show, I can't get into the show at all. It's like, you may see the background. A lot of the characters are things that I've resonated with or I'm a fan of at a certain point in time. It's like what I'm passionate about. So
absolutely. 100%. I do that too. I still do that to this day too. And I still try to typecast my friends in the show too. So like, I think it was, what was I watching? You're not going to like this. I typecast you as Ned from Spider-Man.
I have to be Ned.
Yeah, you got Ned.
It's just a weird kid who's just out there to provide background humor. I get it. No, I totally get it. Like, if you saw any of my high school yearbook photos, you would absolutely 100% agree. I was Ned, but worse. I may have been more of the marketing guy who's like, I love Spider-Man. Screw you, Peter. It's like you just didn't understand like what the issue was at that particular time.
Yeah,
it's like I saw the Batman recently, and recently I mean like I watched it on HBO Max again. I don't know why people hate this film, but I saw it again. I was like, you know what? I think Brock really would be a good Detective Gordon. Like for whatever reason, that Jim Gordon character resonated a lot for me with you, but also the Penguin.
Oh, really?
Like Colin Farrell's character was entirely something you would have loved to do or loved to have become at some point in your time.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like if you didn't know Brock in high school, white wife beater, gold cross, slick back hair. Like
I didn't have the slick back hair yet.
You were starting to lead into it the more you hung around me. I don't know if it's because like my hair has this weird natural spike that it's always had, but at the same time, you started like caring about your hair more. You had the leather jacket, the jeans, the overdone belt. But the thing that never could bring the outfit together, you always had what I always called baby booties.
Oh, fuck you.
He had these light up shoes that were super cool.
No,
I was jealous that they were Velcro because he didn't have to tie his damn shoes all the time.
Okay. He is full of shit on that because they did not light up. They were not Velcro. The only time I had that was during graduation because I wanted to wear light up shoes while crossing the stage.
And it looked cool as hell, and I was very happy to support that.
And Abston was, I shouldn't have said, but the principal at the time was mad. And because he told me not to do that, and I did it anyway.
I'm pretty sure everyone's entire high school experience with you is telling you not to do something just to watch you do it. If I told you to do something, you would not do it.
To this day, this is true.
The logic in it is just irrefutable. It's like,
my old boss, still one of my good friends to this day, she'll be on an episode in the future. She can verify that.
Brock, do you do that paperwork I asked you to do? No, but my character and my game is like significantly better now. All right, and in the name of doing a podcast, there are names that we want to speak out into the universe and let them come to us and pop on to this show at some point in time. we each have a list of 10 people that we want to have on our show for better or worse, or for whatever personal reason we want to have them on, which we will explain, but probably still make fun of each other for.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to start with the man who started the Living with Humor. Brock, drop your 10 names. Just make sure to take time so I can either roast it or just be like, I 100% agree with this. We might have some of the same people for all I know. We did not compare notes on this at all. We wanted to be just as shocked as you guys.
Yeah, you're right. And that's true. We both made our separate lists. We made it a point not to share our lists. So that way our reactions would be genuine for you guys. So first on my list, this is going to be to no surprise to anybody who knows me. My favorite artist of all time, Eminem. That should come to no shock. He was a huge, even to this day, he's a huge influence on me when it comes to my writing and just inspiration.
I 100% cannot disagree with that pick, though.
Yeah, well, because like he's a phenomenal rapper, lyricist, writer, but his mentality when he goes in, when he talks about his writing, just blows me away. And I don't know, Brent, if you've ever seen interviews with him where he talks about like his writing, and I think he did like a podcast with Mike Tyson or something like that. I believe that's the interview I'm thinking. But no, he just has a great perspective on where he or how he creates his art, which is what I aspire to do. And he has this one song that I feel is super underrated. It's the song called Darkness. Brent, are you familiar with that song?
I am actually not familiar with that, so I'm going to write that down so I can take a look at it later.
Yeah, so for those of you who are listening who have not heard it, definitely go check it out. It's obviously, you can tell by the name, it is a really dark song, but what he does phenomenally well is without flipping his lyrics, or like, he's basically telling multiple stories at one time, and it all leads into this one particular event that happened in this country that I don't want to ruin. I want you guys to listen to it and see how just like the writing structure and the allegory and all that, how he's telling 2 or even 3 stories at one time with single lyrics. So that to me is something I would love to do in comedy. I'm not smart enough to do that, but I'm trying. Went on a little tangent there, but that's why he's number 1 on my list. Number 2 is, and I've mentioned her to you before, Brent, but Snow the Product. For those of you listening, if you don't know who Snow the Product is, please check her out. She's an amazing lyricist, artist, just a phenomenal hip hop artist, and super down to earth. I actually have gotten the chance to meet her quite a few times, and when I go, so far every time she comes to Seattle, I actually get to end up going on stage with her and kind of just like partying with her. And I have that video on my Facebook, which I don't know if you've seen, Brent, but if not, I'll tag you.
No, but I did look up Snow the Product after we discussed her and like some of her traits and characteristics. I was like, yeah, this woman is spectacular in her field and absolutely is killing everything that she is doing and touching is succeeding. So it's like, I wish nothing but success for her. And God, we'd be lucky to have her on in any capacity. I'm sure she's got stories of any caliber and ilk where you'd just be like, whatever she wants to talk about, that's today's show. We'll just
Well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach out because she has that clip of me crowd surfing at her concert on her podcast. So I think it's only fair if she comes on here.
All right, number 3.
Number 3. This should be to no surprise to anybody who's been listening. Christopher Titus. Gotta have him on here.
A phenomenal comedian in his own right. I've looked up some of his specials since we've discussed him. Dude's amazing talented.
Amazing writer, amazing performer. One of the best pieces of advice he's ever given me was to write like George Carlin, who's one of the greats, and perform like Robin Williams. If you can do those two things in your stand-up, you're golden. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to spend some time with him after his shows. And again, like I mentioned earlier, I got to actually work with him very briefly back in January, which to this day is like the high point of my comedy career. So I'd definitely love to have him on. And then number 4, Brent, are you familiar with Taylor Tomlinson by chance?
I am not. Is that someone I need to look up?
Yes, she is a phenomenal female comedian. I hate to say female comedian because she's a comedian.
Yeah, because I feel like comedian is one of those things that's like, it's basically gender neutral at this point. It's like, yeah, I'm a comedian. It's like some of the women out there are funnier than the men are now, and you're just like, why are we not putting more shine on this?
Yeah, and it's not even, I don't even look at it as that deep. It's like, I hate it when people refer to me as the midget comedian. So, like, you know, we're all comics. If you're going up there and you're getting paid to tell jokes in front of a crowd full of strangers, you're a comedian. Like, but anyway, no, she's amazing. She has been killing it lately. She has 2 Netflix specials. I love her writing style, love her delivery, and I think it would be awesome to have her on the show. She has a lot of, and even because it would fit the theme of the show, if you guys go check her out on Netflix, she has Quarter Life Crisis, and I can't remember the second one apparently, but they're both great, and she has a lot of dark shit that she went through that she was able to find humor in, and just find that humor to help her cope. So, number 5, there is a YouTube singer. She is currently on tour with another group that I did not write down, but I would like to have them on here. Her name is Violet Orlandy. She started out doing a lot of covers. She's got a beautiful voice, and she also does vlogs in between music videos that she releases, and she's super funny. She's always having me laugh, so I would definitely like to have her on here, just because I'm a fan. And then, so that's my top 5, and then after that, I got Delaney Fisher, who she used to work with Taylor Tomlinson on a podcast. Her and Kelsey Cook, who is also on my list. Delaney Fisher used to do stand-up. She doesn't do stand-up anymore, but she was an amazing comedian. And I actually got to do a writing session with her a few years ago, which was great. And I just got a lot of respect for her. She quit stand-up to start her own company. She started 2 companies, actually, and then ended up, I believe, selling one. But she retired from stand-up. You'll love this, Brent. She retired stand-up by creating this company called Dicks by Delaney. And all the company did was draw dick-shaped caricatures of people and put them on coffee mugs.
Brilliant.
I know. And she did that full time until she changed career paths again. Like, and yeah, it's just one of my favorite stories, success stories. And she was a successful comedian too. Like, she didn't have to quit. She just kind of fell out of love with comedy or stand-up. But after that, I got Bert Kreischer. Very funny. I love his podcast. He's always got great dialogue. His bit about being called the machine, amazing. If you guys haven't heard that, A, you guys are living under a rock, and B, it's definitely check it out. After Bert Kreischer, we got another musician. I got a lot of musicians on here. Castro Escobar. I met him at a Snow concert. He used to tour Snow the Product. Super nice guy. We talked a handful of times since that concert. he's just all around super nice guy, really funny. He's got his own dark upbringing and backstory, and he uses lyrics more than humor. But if you listen to his music, he adds some humor in his lyrics to cope with what he's gone through. So I think that would be cool. And then there's a creator on TikTok called Poppy Tacos, and he's just fucking funny. Like, he just reacts to stuff, and the stuff that comes out of his mouth is so funny to me that I would just love to have him on here, just because I know the dialogue between the three of us would be golden. And I think just because all three of us have that squirrel ADHD brain. So when that happens, we're not going to stay on topic. I'm already calling that right now, but
we'll just come in with like some loose topic and just, here you go. Wing it.
Yeah, exactly. And it was, I think that would end up being one of our longer episodes too. And then finally, I had to put two people on for my 10th only because they work together. Matt Stone and Trey Parker. I think it would be amazing to have them on here.
The amount of humor that those two have put out in a universe, let alone how hilarious they would be to either A, uplift us, which I would take tongue in cheek regardless. Or
yeah, exactly.
How significantly they would roast our entire existence.
Yeah, either one. I'm cool with.
It's like, hey, have you ever been roasted by the South Park creators? No?
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah, exactly. No, and like, I mean, they're fucking brilliant. I'm sorry, they are. Not everybody likes South Park because, people are sensitive nowadays. But, like, they're just brilliant. Again, I keep going back to people's writing, but that's just what I gravitate towards. And, but their writing and their scripts, brilliant. So I would love to talk to them, even if they roast the shit out of me. But yeah, I think that would be amazing.
That would be it. So that is your top 10 list right there?
Yes.
We did not have any one of the same people on our list.
Perfect. So I'm glad.
I called 3 of the 10 though, so we'll see how you did with me, because Eminem, Snow the Product, and Christopher Titus are must-haves.
Yeah.
I didn't put them on my list because I know they were on yours, and they are brilliant at everything that they do. So I'm not shocked that they do.
Yeah.
Mine, you'll probably get at least 3, just because of who I am. If you don't know me outside of here, I'm a sports junkie. I'm a Star Wars junkie. Marvel, Lord of the Rings, anime. Those are my niches. I gravitate towards that. Yeah. I'm not as deep as most people are. Mm-hmm. But I do love and enjoy those things. So this list should come as no surprise to you. I'll list off why I like the people that I like. Yeah. The first person, and I don't really have a particular order. I do have a top 5 in a particular order, but I'm going to start off with the way I wrote it down. I want Ken Griffey Jr. at some point.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
He's the reason I wear my hat backwards in basically everything I've ever done since the dawn of time. He wore his hat backwards in baseball to make a statement to say, I am who I am. Mm-hmm. I'm uniquely this person. Like, the game of baseball, wearing your hat forward was always just something everybody else did. And then he started wearing his hat backwards. And he became the kid. He's one of the greatest baseball players to ever grace anybody's field. He absolutely abhorred the Yankees, so I'm not a huge fan of that. But that's...
Oh, yeah, because you and I both love the Yankees.
We both love the Yankees, but his only quote about the Yankees, like, what would happen if you ever got traded to the Yankees? He said, I would retire. He's like, he would rather retire. And this was in the prime of his career that he said this. And play for them. So I was like, oh, well, you hate my team, but that's fine. Which should come as no shock, then, that the number 2 guy I want on this list, Derek Jeter.
Yep, that would be fun. That'd be fun.
Because, I mean, his cameo and the other guys, I think, was one of the funniest scenes of that entire film. You shot Derek Jeter.
He's a biracial angel.
You're just like, what? But I quoted that all the time in my old math class to one of my friends, and she absolutely loved that movie. But, Derek Jeter, he was class personified in handling the New York media for as many years as he did, as flawlessly as he did, let alone, if you don't know, this dude was a playboy on the side. He was dating
Yeah.
swimsuit model after Instagram model after Sports Illustrated swimsuit model. Like the dude has. Then there were actresses. Like the dude has.
Scarlett Johansson. I heard that and I was like, all right, I kind of hate you now, but
he's got a list of people that he's dated and spent time
Yeah.
with, and every single one of those women has said he's one of the classiest people they've ever been around. He handled everything professionally, even when things didn't end amicably. So I'm like, all right, I need to figure out like what's your secret to ending things amicably and having like, you know, this kind of a life outside of everything. And then obviously you see the Patriots helmet, or you guys have been seeing the Patriots helmet for a long time now.
Yeah.
Tom Brady, come on. I mean,
I know
the man, the myth, the legend, probably the greatest quarterback to ever play the game of football in the history of existence.
Yeah.
Not fanboying for him because like he's not on my team anymore, but like I 100% respect everything this man has brought to the game of football and how he's handled himself and all that stuff. And now we're gonna break off into like, this is where the weird part of my personality is really shine through.
Oh, I can't wait.
One of the people I really, really want on is Carl Urban. And most people are like, who? I was like,
okay, that took me a second.
The actor from The Boys who plays Billy Butcher. He was in Lord of the Rings. He was in a Marvel movie. Like, this man has covered 3 major things that I absolutely love. And he's got a wicked sense of humor. Some might even say diabolical. And yes, I threw that in there from the show. Don't care. But having Carl Urban on, I think I'd just be geeked out the whole time. Just be like, that's Carl fucking Urban.
Yeah, right.
Here the whole time. And in that same breath, there's 2 guys that I wrote down separately, but I have to mention them together.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill.
I knew Mark Hamill. I knew Mark Hamill was going to be there.
But Kevin Conroy, the voice actor of Batman, the animated series for my entire life, and then he covered the Arkham video game series as well.
That's right, he did, didn't he?
I cannot omit this man for anything he's ever done.
Mm-hmm.
And then, obviously, Mark Hamill, he was Luke freaking Skywalker from Star Wars, and then he played the best Joker voice actor. I don't care. Come at me for this. It is what it is. Mark Hamill was Joker for me growing up.
Yeah.
And then there's another one that fits entirely with our living with humor thing. There's a professional fighter who has detailed her struggle with depression and just not being able to be yourself when she's mentally out of it. Thug Rose Namajunas. She is a phenomenal UFC fighter.
Yeah.
She's a great person, great character, absolute badass in every sense of the word. So it's like, having her on, I think, would be cool just to discuss what it's like getting yourself psyched up to walk into an octagon to go beat the crap out of another person for a certain length of time. I think would be absolutely fascinating. And then the other 3 are just stupid as hell. And this is where I'm going to get a lot of judgment for. And I 100%
I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it.
If you recognize any of these 3 names, you've been on the dark part of the internet.
Oh, God.
So, if anyone calls me out on this, I know what y'all do in your free time. So I know. Me and the FBA guy named Ted, who's listening in on this, knows. The first person I'm going to mention has actually been on the lighter side of things, but has slowly started transitioning. Her name is Lindsay Payless. She is known as one of Instagram's queens and founders. She is like way up there in terms of popularity, following, and if you look her up, you understand why she's as popular as she is.
Okay.
But she's got an interesting personality, interesting takes on a lot of things. She's built several successful companies off the side. She's very, very well spoken and very, very much huge activist for women in general and women just being who they are.
Yeah.
She's one of the head people is like the whole free the nipple movement. She was definitely 100% on there for that. Okay. So I'm interested in her business acumen as well as like just talking to someone of that magnitude. Like, how do you deal with people looking at you in this light constantly and not just snapping at people?
Yeah.
And then within that same breath, Angela White and Danny Daniels, I think would be hilarious to have on a podcast. The funny thing about both of those is just Danny Daniels is a diehard New York Yankees fan. She's a huge fan of Scotch, and she's just a huge fan of old classic movies. So I'm like, I feel like she would vibe with
Oh, she'd be great.
hilariously.
Yeah.
She's got a good sense of humor. She's got a big TikTok following, not doing anything in the adult industry, period. But she's just using the platform that she's built up due to that to bring a lot of light to a lot of stuff that's going on. And like Angela White, I mean, that one speaks for itself. That's just me in a nutshell. It's like, if I saw her in any capacity, I'd just be the whole time.
Right.
I'd be an absolute wreck of a person, but at the same time, I feel like having these people who've done these interesting life experiences. I'm not saying I'm like pro for it or against for it. I'm totally fine with people being happy and they're comfortable in their own skin, doing their own thing.
Yeah.
I just want to see the thought process behind how they became what they became, what goes into this kind of stuff, and like just what they do, who they really are is probably something that I feel like people don't take the time to figure out, because like you just see them in this one light and you're like, here comes all the jokes, and then you move on with your day, like think nothing of it. But how many of my list did you get up there? I know you got Hamill and Brady. That was easy.
Hamill and Brady. The guy from The Boys, surprisingly enough, only because we talked about him specifically.
Because
and I could tell how much.
Is one of those people.
So I couldn't remember his name, but I did know he was on your list. So I got 3, and then you got 3 as well. I think you got more than 3 because I think you knew I was going to have Bird on there.
I think I did, but then at the same time, I was like, you know a lot more people than I do, so it'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
That being said, let's wrap things up. Is there anything coming up on your calendar you want people to pack their butts into seats for, to listen to you do what you do?
So this episode will be out in June. I do not have anything booked in June at the moment, but for those who are listening, I do have a bunch in the works. So hopefully within the next couple of episodes, I'll have an update for you guys. I do have other projects outside of this podcast in the works. I just think have some details to final up and get the ball rolling. So, stay tuned. Got a lot of shit in the pipeline, and look forward to the rest of the episodes on this.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see where things go here. This has been Living with Humor, starring Brock Torano. I'm just here as the other guy on the show. Be sure to check us out on Patreon, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. If you've been watching the YouTube, you've seen that watermark in the corner of this entire video. Just hit it for that subscribe. It's greatly appreciated. The like button also helps bump us up in the queue. And we'll also be on Anchor as well. So it'll be an audio-only form of content over there, which will take us to Spotify. It'll take us over to Apple Tunes. Anything else we got going on, it'll be there.
Yeah.
I don't really have anything else to say.
I do have to do the TikTok plug because we will be on TikTok. That's where you'll be able to find your beloved Uncle Tony. He'll be doing a lot of the TikTok stuff for us for this podcast. So definitely we will see you guys next week. And I think that's a wrap.
Peace.